It now features a streaming radio media player on our website's front page, where local artists can get their music played 24/7. For more information on getting your music in rotation or to perform live at our studio, contact Reg Gaskins at 240-832-4455.
Android users, the VoxWave app is now available in the Google Play Store. Download the app today on your Android device to listen in and view programs.
Business owners looking for a place to advertise your business and promote your products and services? VoxWave is the right place. We have over 10,000 views a day and 70,000 listeners a month. For more information, contact Reg Gaskins at 240-832-4455.
Vox Radio, along with Then Sings My Soul Productions, is...
Enhance your listening experience. VoxWave.com.
Check out all your favorite shows at VoxWave.com. On Mondays, we keep it moving with The Kim Show from 11 to 1 p.m. Then it's time for a change with Sherry and Mignon, 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. And then in the end we win with Curtis, 8:15 p.m. to 9:15 p.m. On Tuesdays, 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Start your afternoon with The Wealth Zone with Raymond Starks. Then it's Cooking with Flavors with Chef Flavors, 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. And treat yourself right with My Spa Bath and Body, hosted by Margaret Harris, 7 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Up next is Slick Daddy Rick, Heartbeat Congo Hour, rocking from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Then on Wednesdays, you can't miss Impact the World with Cheryl Woods, 12 noon to 2 p.m. And then from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m., we got Slick Talk with Oscar D and It's the Kid. Then from 8 to 9 p.m., we crank it up with Live Set Wednesdays, hosted by Reg Gaskins. And after that, 9:15 to 10:15 p.m., the BGKH Show with Dominion and Epic. And check out our Thursday lineup, starting with You, Math, and Me, hosted by George Randall from 10 to 10:30 a.m. Then from 7 to 9 p.m., the 640 Evening Show with DJ 640. And on Fridays, we start out with Peace in the Morning Show with Darius A. Stan, co-host Delicate Daryl Barnes, and Queen of Sudabed, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. From 10:30 to 11:30, the Hall Street Journal with Robert Hall and co-host Clarence Sanders. And after that, you know we gotta check in with Chanel's 3 Cents, 1:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Up next, from 3 to 4:30 p.m., Daryl Allen Hairston II Crime Victims Foundation Show with your host, Daryl Hairston. Then, from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. is The Rush Hour with DJ Drew and Janique. And from 9:15 to 11:15 p.m., you can't miss Different Mind Show with Bam 640 and DJ Andre Michael, co-host Hillary Banks. Then start out your Saturday mornings with the Healer Blues Show, hosted by Ron Jackson. After that, 9:30 to 10:30 a.m., the Hour of Power with Reverend Winters Rogers. Then, from 11 a.m. to 12 noon, it's time for prayer, praise, and deliverance with Elder Thurman Gorman Jr. Four Sisters Live Talk, 12:30 to 2:30 p.m. Then every second Saturday, listen to Turning Dreams into Reality Talk Show with Tashika L. Green, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. After that, from 3 to 4 p.m., we walk in newness 24/7 with Missionary Antoinette. And don't miss, from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m., news, ULM News and Analysis, information, sports, Black history, with your host, news anchor Roderick Carter Willis, 4:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Then, from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m., it's time for DJ Rick, the CEO of Step Your Game Up, the Youth Project, co-hosted by DJ Main and DJ Low Hefe. And then, at 7:45 to 8:45 p.m., it's time for the Fantastic Live Show with MC Fran. And starting out on Sundays, from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., I am Dr. Sharon Show with Dr. Sharon. And every first Sunday, from 3 to 4 p.m., it's the Riri Williams Show, Fashion and Style Hour. And every third Sunday, check out the Tea Talk Show with Dr. Akita Pearson, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Then it's time for Real Talk 101, 6 to 8 p.m. And from 8:15 to 9:15 p.m., we're tuned into the Gospel Live TV show with Glory Mello. Stay tuned to Vox Wave, where you can find all your favorite shows.
The world's #1 streaming music station, VoxWave.com.
Thanks for tuning in to In the End We Win with Curtis Austin. I am your host, Curtis. It is a dreary night out there. It is wet, wet, wet. However, we have liquid sunshine in here tonight. So we have a fantastic show in line for you all. Please, please, please listen up, take notes. It may be information that you can use. It may not. It may be for someone who you know in particular, maybe someone close to you. But I have two friends of the show who are going to give us some insight on domestic violence and healthy relationships. So I would like to introduce my friends to the show, Mignon and Sherry, who are also my fellow station producers, hosts, etc., etc. And they are the hosts of Time for Change, which actually comes on right before our show every Monday night, 7 p.m. or
6:30 to
6:30 to 8 p.m. every Monday night. So please tune in. They have some awesome guests. I've met several over the last several months. Here currently, some of the folks who are running for office in PG County have been on their show. But tonight we're going to talk about them and the impact that they're having in our community. So, as usual, I encourage you all to call in. As you know, the number to dial in is 240-719-2560. Please call in. Questions, comments, concerns. If you're having challenges with in a relationship, please give us a call. We can, with our guests, we can help you out tonight. And as you know, here on In the End We Win, it's all about just that. We look forward to giving you guys the information that you can use that's going to make your life so much better, because in the end, we win. So,
yes. Love that. Love that. In the end, we win.
That's right. So, Sherry and Mignon.
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
I would like to first just allow each of you to introduce yourselves to our viewers and give a little background on who you are, how you managed to become host of such a show on domestic violence. And as we talked previously, if there's anything that you're uncomfortable with, please don't share. But whatever whatever your heart, whatever you are led to discuss, I'd love for our viewers to hear, and perhaps there's something in your stories that they will hear that can help them in their situation.
Definitely. Absolutely. Go ahead, Sherry. You start with the show first.
You always make me. Well, I'm Sherry Cook. I grew up here in the Prince George's County area. I am the founder of Keeping Each Other Motivated Works, Keom Works. So it's KEOM Works. Okay. Keeping Each Other Motivated Works.
Okay.
Right? So it's where I go out and I facilitate and I speak, and we talk about healthy relationships. We talk about co-parenting. We talk about life skills, anything positive to changing negative mindsets. That's what I talk about. Okay. And so here lately, I've just been working side by side with Mignon on a couple of different projects that we have coming up.
Sure.
A lot of stuff is starting to happen later this year.
Excellent.
And I'm really excited about those things. So yeah, that's pretty much what I do. Anything positive that's going on in the community, I'm definitely involved in.
Positive how? Positive in regards to relationships or business ventures? Or?
It can be business ventures. It can be political. The political arena, I'm very involved in making sure that our people are aware of how important it is to vote, and understanding the process, and so that they understand why their vote counts. Anything that deals with life skills and parenting, I want people to always have a positive outlook. Oftentimes we're just overwhelmed with life, right? I know we don't want to call ourselves experts all the time, but I kind of consider myself like an expert with just life, because I never had a whole lot of things to happen like that were so overwhelming and detrimental, and but I just had life. Just up and down, and every time you turn around, it was always something. Right? So how do you deal with that? How do you process that? How do you keep moving forward every single day? Right? Because so many people can't do it. And so many people allow it to get them down into a slump. And once you get into those slumps, it's hard to get out. So I just try to keep people motivated so that they understand that they have control to move forward. So that's really what I do. And I did unfortunately get involved in an abusive relationship. It was more verbal and emotional than it was physical. But it did take me a while to get out. Mentally and emotionally, it was a struggle to get over the person. So it was really difficult. Even 3 years after leaving, I still continued to deal with him.
Oh, wow.
So it's a process, and I had to work myself up from ground zero because he pretty much chomped me down. And even though I was a coach and I was this strong leader in the community, you know what I mean? Like, how did that happen to strong me? What happened? So that's life, right? Life just comes and just knocks you down, and you don't even realize it. And the next thing you know, you're picking yourself up by your bootstraps, and you're like, oh my God, what just happened to me? So that's pretty much my story, and I've just kept moving.
Amen. 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 And we're gonna obviously talk some more tonight. So I wanted to give Mignon. I want to make sure I'm pronouncing that. That's
Yes,
why
you are.
I always take my time when I say it.
Yeah, slowing down, right?
Mignon. Yes.
Well, again, I am excited to be here tonight, and thank you again for having us. Absolutely. My name is Mignon Brown Anderson, and I'm the founder and president of the Lakeisha Brown Foundation. I started this organization 11 years ago when my 18-year-old daughter Lakeisha was murdered by her boyfriend. So this organization is dedicated to the eradication of teen dating violence while promoting self-love and healthy relationships.
Hold on, that was a mouthful. Say that for us one more time.
The organization is dedicated to eradicating teen dating violence by promoting self-love and healthy relationships. 1.5 million teens are affected by teen dating violence annually, and 9 times out of 10 parents don't know.
So when you say teen violence, do you mean they're fighting each other, one beating up on the other, or is it abusive, as Sherry mentioned?
All of the above. There's physical abuse, there's sexual abuse, there's verbal abuse, there's mental, emotional. They don't really get too much into finances because they're still at home with their parents,
sure.
But they are definitely dealing with more of the physical abuse.
Sure. Wow.
And sexual abuse is very high within teens because they are being raped and they are being gang raped at record numbers, and parents do not know.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so I also am a safe date facilitator for Prince George's County, where I go out and I teach teens how to date safely. And also I do facilitate workshops for parents to be able to help them to notice the warning signs in their children and to force that conversation that you must have.
So, family, I'm sure you heard everything that I heard. Safe date facilitator is new. That was news to me. That was new to me. I had never heard of that. But it sounds like there's something in there in order for us to have someone who has that title, right? And we're upon prom season. And it's my understanding that prom season is normally when a lot of these things that you discussed occur. You find that often?
Yeah, during this time, you know, you have a lot of teens getting together, and you know, for some, this is the time where they decided this is going to be the first time they may have sex with someone, or thinking about it. Yeah, thinking about it. And then sometimes they go into these other areas where they may go to the hotel and everything, and then they decide, no, I'm not going to do this. And then they're forced to do this. And then sometimes there's other people waiting there, and then, you know, they end up in, they happen.
Totally weren't expecting.
Yeah, they wasn't expecting that. And so, you know, this is something that we as parents have to deal with because it is happening, even though, you know, it's so taboo. You have a lot of parents who don't want to talk about sex with their children, thinking that if I don't talk about it, it'll go away. It's not going to go away. You have to deal with it. You have to make sure that they understand how to date safely and that they don't have to do certain things. Like, you know, sometimes when you grow up, you think of dating because you watch somebody else. So you get an idea of what it is and that, oh, I have to do this. I have to, be around a guy who talks down to me because maybe he's buying me gifts, you know, different things that we show them. So they don't know how to act in those relationships. They just going off of what they seen. So but we have to sit our children down and make sure that they are doing this in a healthy way that we agree with, because still children, they don't even understand that they even supposed to sit down with their parents to even find out, is this a good time for me to date? Because it's still the parents' decision. Because we always ask them, do your parents know you're dating? No. They don't know. And so we have to get them back to knowing that these are things that you have to sit down and talk to your parents about because you're not ready for these things. You're just not ready.
And teenagers really cannot make those. Let's just remember when we were teenagers, right? What did we base relationships on? They were based on how cute he was and how he said my name, and oh my goodness, he walked me to my class, and he's just so cute, you know.
And yes, no, or maybe,
right? And nobody knew that really he was really talking to me like I was nothing when I was on the phone, but in front of all of his friends, I was like oh my goodness, I'm like, he picked me, right? And so then you go, but then when at home, or you're at home and he's hitting you and he's pushing you, or he's pushing you down, or telling you that you're going to give up your stuff to him, it's a whole different situation. And young ladies don't even realize, I mean, it might be happening to guys too, but young ladies don't even realize that that is not how the relationship is supposed to go.
Sure.
You know, so she's now in this situation that she doesn't know how to get herself out of.
Right.
Absolutely.
So, how did you two meet? How did you two manage to come together and kind of partner up on these?
You tell.
3 years ago. It was 3 years ago now.
Yeah.
Maybe two.
Yeah, because
2016. That's when I broke my ankle. It was 2016. I had just got my cast off, remember?
Yeah.
And I was at a speaking engagement. I had went to a speaking engagement, and I was like, I am not counseling this event. I'm gonna go limping and everything. And I went and I still did my speaking engagement. We have a girlfriend in common. Her name is Vanessa Fleeton. It was one of her events. Sherry was there as a guest, and I was a guest speaker, and that's how we met. And so after the event, we were all just outside talking, and we just was caught up. 1 minute the sun was up, next thing you know the sun was going down. That's how long we were engaged out there and talking with one another. And so of course we became Facebook friends, because everywhere you go you meet people, you become Facebook friends. And so she has been, you know, watching a lot of things that I was doing. And
mind you, around that time, I was really just kind of
getting out,
and wondering, what am I really in the abusive relationship? Is that what this really is? You know, so at that time, I was still kind of, So,
and so I forgot the post it was that I had put up one day, but it triggered something in her. She had already been in the backgrounds working out a radio show, which she wanted to do. God had already started talking to me about a radio show, like back in, I think the year before, 2015. But I did it prematurely, tried to go and get some people, nothing happened. So I said, okay, God, I'll wait on you. So one day she gives me a text, she sends me a message through Messenger, and she said, oh my God, she said, you know, I have this radio show. I'm going to do this radio show. I really didn't want to do it by myself. I would love for you to be my co-host. And I was like, okay, God. Okay, I'm listening to it. Okay, God, I hear you. And she said, everything is ready. All I need is you. I got the flyer. I got the station. I got the time and the date. You just need to come on. And I said, okay, God, I'm going. This is it. And that's what started it. And we've been together ever since then. Yes.
That's how it's been.
And we were on the same platform because she wanted somebody to be on the same platform that she was on to talk about the issues that people don't talk about.
Talk about it. Be real about it. You know? And I always saw her post, and she was always so real about things. And even when she talks, you know, and when she would go out as a guest speaker, you know, just real conversation.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And I just knew that I wanted someone that could come on the show and wouldn't be afraid to say the real words that we needed to hear.
Definitely.
You know, so I'm like a no excuse type of coach. Like, I'm not going to give you any excuses, and that's what I needed in a co-host. And then of course now we've become like buddies.
Yes. Yes.
Like sisters.
Yes. And we bring that extra piece because also in my work, I always wanted to know, like, okay, so once you get out of domestic violence, then how do you function? Because most victims go back 7 to 8 times before they actually leave. So what can we do in that meantime when they leave? So that's why now we focusing on co-parenting. How do you co-parent with your abuser? Because the children still needs to be raised. How do you get your finances back when you've been in a relationship and someone has destroyed your credit and everything? You can't get your own place. We have to build those things up. And then your mental recovery, your psyche. How do you get back to your self-worth from being beat down for so long? So those are the things that it'll take to keep you moving forward and not looking back.
Sure. Who are you finding are your... well, let me say it this way. Is there a commonality in the people that you guys are coaching and helping?
No.
And I don't want to be so shallow and just say it's more women than it is men. Is there something else? Is there a character issue or something about a person's character or their
demeanor that makes them a victim, if you will?
Anybody can be a victim. Domestic violence has no face. Anybody can be a victim and anybody can be an abuser. And as far as the numbers with men or women, the ones we see the most, we see more women because most men don't tell. But that's why even like now I do a lot of events for men where men can come and talk about the abuse that they have experienced so that they can know that it's resources for them too, because it's for the victim, not female and not male. Victim. That's who the services are for. So whoever is going through that, and if you need services, then we'll be there to help you.
And of course, you see it a lot more in the women. And of course, when you hear facilitators talk and speakers talk, a lot of times we come from a woman's point of view. You know what I mean? So it's never to say that men are not experiencing it, because they are. But in just what the arena, or like you said, any commonalities, I really don't think there have been any commonalities. I think that anybody can be affected. A lot of powerful people are affected and will never say anything. And the only time you hear about it is if something has hit the news, right? With the powerful people, right? But there have been judges, there have been rappers, there have been,
pastors, men of the clergy,
there have been inspirational speakers.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So, so everybody can be affected. We just have to start to notice those red flags in those unhealthy relationships. Now what do we do?
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Now what do we do? And it's not to say that every single time you talk to somebody or every time somebody talks to you, they're being abusive. We're not saying that, but we're definitely saying to notice a pattern, notice something in your mate that if it's not sitting well in your gut, if it's making your gut turn, then something wrong.
And domestic violence is about power and control.
That's right.
So there is some signs of that. If you have someone that's belittling you, that's calling you out your name, talking down to you, someone who's isolating you from your family and friends, so there is the commonality is the things that they try to do, and so it's power and control. So that would be the commonality in that. And that can be male or female, because we have a lot of aggressive women out here and young girls that's doing a lot of the abusing, and because men don't say anything, then those numbers are not being tracked the way they should be.
We really do. And our reality TV has given us that.
Yeah. And just to share a little bit of my story, I said that I am a survivor of domestic violence. I am a third-generation survivor of domestic violence. My mom and dad had issues in their marriage, my grandmother, and then even other extended family members had it. So me growing up, I'm a native Washingtonian, grew up in Northeast D.C., and I can sit here and say that I never seen a healthy relationship modeled in front of me. It was all about gifts. And that man providing, that if he provided for you, he can do whatever he wants. But as long as he provide for you, that's what you go with. You make that work. And so I was even in a broken marriage like that, because I come from a spiritual background, grew up in a church. My family had very high positions in the church. So, of course, everything was hidden. We would go to every service at church, but then go back home to the house of hell. And so I never knew how to do that. And then growing up in the household with my grandfather, who was an alcoholic, who should have been my next example of what a man is, because when my mom left my dad, that didn't happen. So I grew up hating men and what they brought to the table, and so when I started getting into relationships, I was one of those girls who was very aggressive. They would always say, your mouth, your mouth, your mouth, because I didn't have respect for them because of what my grandfather showed us. He was an alcoholic, so I couldn't have respect for that. And so I didn't have respect for other men as well. And so from the time I was 16 to 34, there was some form of domestic violence in each relationship that I was in, that even went over until my marriage, till where my marriage ended because I ended up stabbing my husband. And I was arrested for domestic violence. And look, it was with a pen. It was with a pen. And it was with a pen. It wasn't intentional. I was at home working in my basement in my office, and this is before I went to therapy, so I didn't know that I had rejection issues and abandonment issues and things like that. And so we only had one car at this time, and he was supposed to go pick up my daughter from her girlfriend's house for the weekend. And I don't know what made him mad. Maybe his girlfriend, because he was a known cheater. I didn't do anything to him, but he was angry, in a bad mood. And I asked him, I told him that she was ready to be picked up. And so he tells me, well, have her dad to go pick her up. Her dad is living in Atlanta. We're in Prince George's County. And so I'm like, what? So I go upstairs, because I want him to say it to my face, you know. I'm that big and bad. I want him to say it to my face. Hey. So I go upstairs, and I go upstairs when he was at in the kitchen. And I asked him again, and he said it again. And when he did it this time, once he said it, he turned his back to me. Well, after that, I don't know what happened, because next thing you know, the pen was in his back. And he looked at me, and he said, you know what? You're going to jail today for every woman who think they can put their hands on a man. This has been a man who had abused me for probably 2 years before we were married and 2 years in the marriage. Oh, wow. So 4 years. And I always say, you know, we can learn a lot from men, because men don't tolerate a lot of things that we as women tolerate. Right. You know, so I have really learned to watch men, their behaviors, and I just don't give them things that, you know, I think they should, like trying to stay in a relationship, trying to make it work when you know it's not going to work. You know it's not going to work. Because I was trying to fix him. I felt sorry for him. I wanted to be second Jesus. I really did. I thought that this church girl could save him. I thought that this church girl could show him all this love.
Where did that come from? Was that just, I'm sorry for cutting you off, but was that just from a so-called love that you had for him, or was there what was it that chose him?
What I thought was love. I thought it was love, but remember, it was the gifts. Because remember, he even, the house that we lived in, he bought me that house because he was cheating on me. You know, we were just boyfriend and girlfriend at the time. We was living together. And I found out that he had took some other woman out of town, so I packed up and left. But then, you know, of course, when he get back from out of town, he want his family back. He's so sorry. And he like, well, I'm going to buy you a house. And he's like, you want a house? And I'm like, shoot, yes, I do want a house. And so he bought the house, you know, and then it just was more room for us to argue and fuss and fight. But that's what I was used to. I was used to men, okay, they do something to you. Okay, where are my gifts? You know, buying you cars and expensive designer things, and I was used to that, so it was normal. It was normal to accept those things and keep excusing his bad behavior.
Right. Wow. Sherry.
Yes.
Can you enlighten us? And you actually, we have a guest in the studio tonight. And how did you hide what you were going through from your children? So we have one of Sherry's children in the studio with us tonight. We're not going to put you on camera. However, she's an adult. She's a young adult. Right. And without hearing from her, how did you manage going through what you were going through while raising your...
You know, I can't say that I did a good job of it. I really did try to hide it, but they heard a lot. They heard a lot of the arguing. Sure. He would really kind of do a lot of things when they weren't there. On the solo. Especially when they went away for the weekend. But every once in a while, of course, because he was just angry, you know, of course it couldn't be hidden sometimes. And then there was a couple of times that I slept in her room because of the arguing. There were a couple of times that we were locked out of the house because he would not open the door and let us in. So they saw little stuff, but just really not knowing to what extent. They were in junior high, going to high school, and like the first 2 years of high school. I noticed a big difference in them because, of course, the big difference in me. Now we're not going out as much as we used to. Now they're not involved in activities as much as they used to. Now we're not really going out on staying at Graham's house like we used to because we didn't go stay at Graham's house anymore, you know. We always had to come home, and we weren't going on holidays like we used to. We would have to hurry up and come back home. So I know that they could see things and they could hear us arguing. But I always kind of just let them know that this wasn't supposed to be like this. Like, this isn't how a relationship is supposed to be. This isn't right. You know.
And you have one of each. You have
I have a boy
son,
and a girl.
A boy and a girl. Correct.
And one day, he and I got into a huge argument at the house. And this is after the sheriff told me that the next time he comes back, either I'm going to be dead or he's going to be dead. And one time we were arguing, and then we were in the hallway, and then my son jumped in the middle of us. And when him and his son jumped in the middle of us, because he had a son too that was about the same age, and when his son and my son jumped in the middle of us, I knew that I was in a I had a major problem. And I didn't know how, because I felt like either my son is going to do something to protect me, or his son is going to respond to my son in protecting me. And because his son had a little bit of anger issues too. Loving him to death though. It wasn't his fault. It wasn't his fault. But so I really kind of knew then that there was a problem. And I always told the kids, like, in your closets, keep your containers packed, okay? Always keep your clothes, and those things that are really, really important to you, put them in like a container. You know what I mean? Those things that you just had to have, don't just leave them all in the drawer. Those things that you really just wanted to keep, just leave them in containers. Wow. And I just knew that one day, hopefully,
gotta go.
I just grabbed the containers and we just go.
Wow.
And literally, so they saw a lot. Like I said, we got locked out and we had to go to Walmart and buy new clothes and, you know, stay at my mom's house. And literally that day when I was riding down the Beltway, I just said, I can't do this anymore. He called me and told me he was going to take a shovel to my head. And I said, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I must be crazy. Yeah, so I turned around on the Beltway and I said I was never going back. And I left the house, but I continued to deal with him because he had this financial hold over me because he knew I needed it. You know, I needed help. So,
and that financial thing is the number one reason why most women stay in relationships.
Wow.
Is the financial piece of that.
I am in awe. I've never really given it much thought. That's interesting to hear, and I hope that you all viewers are hearing and hopefully getting something out of it. If you're challenged with anything like this, that you are hearing and perhaps devising a plan. So
the plan is very important.
And it sounds like you had one, you know, having them to stay prepared, and, you know, it might just be that moment.
And that's one thing that we talk about too, is the plan. Because you have to do the plan safely.
Yes.
And it's not going to look the same for me as it may look for Mick. You know, and it may not look the same for me or Mick as it does for me. So you really have to devise that plan so that you can, and that's the most crucial time when you leave.
Yes. That's when most women lose their life leaving.
Yeah.
And that's because they end up leaving, but they go somewhere where the abuser know, where they're going to a family member's house or something like that. And so they come back and kill them.
I had the I'll say it this way. I had the pleasure of meeting Miss Cade. You guys familiar with
Yvette Cade?
Yes.
Cade,
yes. She's the young lady who was at work
at the T-Mobile
in Clinton, Maryland, and her boyfriend, I believe, or husband, ex-husband, or something,
boyfriend, I think, right?
Came in and set her on fire. And years after that incident, my son and her son happened to be playing on the same football team.
Oh, okay.
And that's how we met. And I saw the scars. And that was a super unfortunate situation. And
yes, it was.
Yeah, it's generally when we see the after effects that people get in awe and to hear the stories. But
when you're going through it, how actually is it when you're going through it, Mignon?
It's a terrible place to be. Like I would never wish that on my worst enemy, because you lose yourself at that time. You don't even know who you are. I remember one day when I had a black eye and I happened to look at myself in the mirror, and I couldn't even recognize the woman that was in the mirror. Yeah. I didn't even know her. I didn't even know who she was. I had lost myself in that whole relationship, trying to be something to somebody and give my all. And you know, it's like you keep on trying to feed something, and it's like a bottomless pit, because no matter what you do, it's never going to get better. I couldn't sex him enough. I couldn't cook enough. I couldn't clean enough. It's nothing I could do. And these are all the things that kept me chasing my tail. And so it was a very, very bad place to be. And then I had young children in this relationship, and they were watching these things. And like Sherry, my abuser was very crafty too. He would never do anything when the children was there, but they would hear arguments, they're verbal, but they would never see any physical. And when they would come back from their visits with their dads, they would come home. I had a dislocated elbow. I had black eyes, and I would hide these things. And all of a sudden, mommy is accident prone. Everywhere mommy goes, somebody is doing something to mommy, you know. And so it's just a lot. And these are just the things that we tell ourselves. But everybody else around you know, but nobody really don't say anything. You know, they just go along with it. They just go along with, well, if that's what she's saying, what happened? Okay. And then they want to say, well, she's dumb and she's stupid. Right. And that's why I'm not telling, because I don't want to be dumb and stupid. I need somebody that can, you know, believe in me and ask and say to me, hey, well, if you want to leave, maybe you got to come stay with me, or I can put you somewhere so you can get away from them. Or, you know, maybe I can give you some extra money you could put away. But see, those are things that you know now how you help somebody. You just don't point fingers. You help them out. They may have a financial situation. Throw them $100. Believe me, they will use it the way that's best fitting for them and their children in that situation. So we just about have to learn how to help.
How about parents? Your parents. How did they play a role in these situations that you were going through? Well,
it was great for my mother, because I hid everything from her. And like my mom left my dad when I was 3. So I don't remember any abuse from her. It was from other people that we had to stay with. I seen their abusive relationships, never from my mother. So I even always tell parents now, be careful who you send your children around. Know what's going on in those households. Because we picked up a lot of things from other family members. But if it wasn't because of my mother, one day when my husband had dislocated my elbow, she made me go press charges against him. And that saved me when I stabbed him, because I would have went to jail if they wouldn't have been able to track that I had been abused before. And so I thank God for my mother that day when she said, no, I'm taking you right now. Drive to my house right now and we're going. Because I had just called her crying about what he did. And she was like, come here now. And when I got there, she took me to the commissioner's office to file charges. And it was wild when I got there, because the commissioner was talking and he was describing my husband. And he was like, dude, he got this tattoo and this. And I was like, yeah. And he said, ma'am, you don't even know who you married to. He said, you need to go home and have a conversation with your husband. I'm looking at my mother. I'm like, what did he see back there? Who is this man I'm married to? And he just was like, I know you don't know who he is.
Who was it?
He never said anything. You know, and he was back there reading that file. You know, because my husband, he had been to jail before. And, you know, he might tell me one thing. And, you know, case search wasn't. I didn't look up case search back then. But now I do. Yeah. I case search people. But I didn't do that then. And, you know, he had some priors, which he did in other relationships with other women. So he had a track record. And even when I left him, I went in case search, and he had a new case against a current woman that he was dealing with.
Oh, wow.
So.
And that's what we want to talk to people about as well is, it's so many areas of this, is definitely the bystanders training.
Yes,
we
talk
sit
about
on the
that.
Bystanders training?
Yes.
Right, bystanders training. We sit on the board
advisory committee
for the Progressive Life Center over in Landover, and we sit on there what is it called?
Advisory committee.
I
For the
always say
office, for the Office of Violence on Women.
Office of Violence. And that's what we talk about is bystander training. And they actually go out into the community and do these trainings with the churches, with the clergy, with community organizations, and they go out and they do trainings on, like, what are you supposed to do as a bystander, as somebody on the side? So from that, we've come up with a campaign that we're going to launch at the end of the year, and we're going to come out with it so that everybody knows the See Something, Say Something campaign.
Sure.
And so we're hoping that people will not keep this hushed mouth anymore, so that we can start letting abusers know that you can't talk to people and just treat people like this and just continue to get away with it. It's a serious disease in our community, and it's plaguing our youth like in rapid numbers. This aggression is really knocking our doors down, and people are getting killed every single day. So we have to start saying something. When we see something, even if we don't say something directly to the abuser, that's what the bystander training kind of teaches you. But yeah, we have to start being able to either have a code, being able to have something to say, hey, listen, we're not going to stand for this. And the abusers have to know that their power and control doesn't work here. The power and control doesn't work here with Kurtis. The power and control doesn't work here. And we're not going to stand here and let you do that.
Right.
And we want to be able to offer the abusers resources for help as well, because we all know that hurt people hurt people. Right. So 9 times out of 10, I know for my husband, my abuser, a lot of things of his anger and pain came from his childhood. And so we want to get them the help they need too, because we want to create a society of people who know how to be in relationship with one another. I just became a grandmother 8 months ago, and that's my goal. Thank you for my grandson to live in a world. I know. I have a son. He's 31 years old. He didn't have my first grandchild. I had him very young at 10. So I know, but I did have him young. But I want to be able to create a world for my grandson to live in, to know how to have a healthy relationship, and also how to deal with the issues in relationship, the conflict resolution piece of that, because a lot of us don't have that. A lot of times when we're in a relationship and things go wrong, the first thing we want to do is fight. That's all we know how to do. But we got to know how to communicate, and it has to be healthy communication. And we got to understand that when we love someone, you don't hit below the belt. You don't demean them. You don't put them down. It's just certain things that you don't do. And so that's the type of world. And in your household,
you're raising your son, and your son might grow up and meet my daughter. And then you have a household that's been chaotic and chaos for the last, all of his life. And now he meets my daughter. My daughter doesn't have a clue what's going on. Completely clueless. And she gets into this relationship with this guy who doesn't know how to talk to her. And now the sweet child that I raised, right? And the baby that I've been grooming all these years and telling her how beautiful she is and telling her how awesome she is, now son comes in and destroys it.
Destroys
it. So we have to do something and start, especially with our youth, but we definitely have to do something on what this healthy thing and what this thing looks like and how we should be going about it, because we don't have anybody that's really, we have to have these real conversations.
Right. Wow, that is wonderful. We normally take a break, but if you guys are okay, if you don't need one, we're gonna keep plowing through, because an hour really isn't.
Time
an hour
very
goes
fast.
very fast. Yes, and this topic here is it's intriguing to me, and I appreciate you both again for allowing me to have you on the show tonight.
Thank you.
And so I was just advised to make sure that we make sure that you all know that we are open for communication with you all, live calls. So if you were to call in, please dial. If you do choose to call in, please dial 240-719-2560. You will be live on the show with us, so please turn down the device that you are listening to and listen
directly to your phone as you will hear our voice. So, interesting. Wow. I had a question. What do you tell someone? Well, before we go into that, let me ask you this. It seems like you both are extremely comfortable in talking about your respective situations. How did you get to that point or this point?
Well, for me, it was when I first started this, I went kicking and screaming because I didn't want to be out telling everybody all what happened in my private life. I thought that when I left my husband, that was it. I'm out of that relationship. Hopefully I have learned from it and it would never happen again. But when I lost my daughter to this, it became my mission that another mother have to bury their child prematurely. So that's why I am as transparent as I am and open, because it will save someone's life. I have been on many stages and platforms, and people come up to me, and just to hear my story has changed their lives.
Wonderful.
Have changed their lives. So that's what it's about for me, and to let them know that there is life after abuse. Just because you've went through that and you've had some bad relationships, but there is life after that. You can have a beautiful relationship, thriving marriages, beautiful children, and all of that. But it's work to be done.
That's
you
right.
have to do the work.
Sure.
And you have to heal yourself. And so that's my mission. My mission was to heal myself and to also be able to help heal others through this epidemic that we're experiencing.
Epidemic. That's a good word. It's at that level.
Yes, it is.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
at epidemic
definitely,
levels.
Definitely. Yeah, I think I always have been very transparent. I think that's what kind of led me to being a life coach, because I had always been the type that was always mentoring and helping other people.
Sure.
And I always believed that the truth would set you free.
Absolutely.
I remember when my grandmother sat me down when I was very, very young, and my grandmother sat me down and told me that she had my mother when she was 15 and my aunt when she was 17. And she always told me that she didn't want that for me. And she always told me, well, how she wanted me to be a lady and how she wanted me to act in public. And she was just very open with me about life and how things happen, and you know, and how you don't want to get yourself into certain situations. So I had always been this transparent person. My life is pretty much an open book.
Wonderful. Okay.
If people ask me, have I been through it? If I've been through it, I'm going to say I've been through it. And if I haven't, I'm going to let you know I haven't. I can't speak to you on that area, but I will definitely find the person that can.
Sure.
But yeah, I've just always been that open book. And so when this kind of happened, like I said, I really had to come to grips that this is what happened, and really kind of put it together. So, but it didn't take me long to talk about it, because I knew that it was my truth.
Sure.
I knew that it was something that I went through. And no matter what, you know, there's no way of saying, no, I ain't go through it, and it eating you up in the inside, knowing that you did, you know. So, and people can say what they want to say about it, you know, especially and I've heard people say, and this has been so-called friends, say to me that you really can't talk about it because you continue to deal with them. And I told them, I was like, you have no clue what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
You have no clue what you're talking about. And the fact that I did continue to mess with him is even more reason why I can. Because I definitely understand that mindset of why I did continue to mess with him. So I can talk. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so it takes a lot to get to that point. And like I tell you, I don't want anybody to think that, you know, I know everything, but I definitely, if I've been through it, I have to speak on it, because you don't want somebody else to go through it.
Sure.
Yeah, I have to do my part, and my part is to make sure that I can save somebody else from going through it.
Sure.
Yeah, and not having that eat me up on the inside, like, dang, I could have said something.
Yeah.
If I had just said something, yeah, I'm not gonna do that. So.
And even like with doing this type of work, you know, this is purpose work. This is just not something we just stumbled up on. And
Right.
we were brought into this club because God ordained us to go through this and do this. And so that's why we're out here and we're talking about it. And we understand that it's not about us. It's about the ones that's behind us, that's assigned to us. And God is holding us accountable.
That's right.
And so just like it was someone that poured into me, and you know, I'm that vessel now that I have to pour into those other people and reach back and help bring them over.
That's right.
Right.
And so that's why that's our mission. It's purpose work.
Yeah.
It's purpose work.
So, you know, we are living in an age of technology.
Yeah.
We didn't get Johnny's
Rufai to call in. However, she sent a note.
Okay.
So we're going to ask this question. How can you make sure that your daughters do not go down the same path?
How can you make sure? Communication. I would say communicate. You have to sit down and talk with your children. You have to be engaged. You have to know what's going on, who their friends are, what are they into. We got to get back to having those dining room
Meals
together and conversations, and to always let your children know that they can trust you. There are two things that teens are always consistently saying when I ask them, do their parents know about the situation? The number one reason is that they say no, because I don't want to hurt my parents. I don't want them to know that I'm going through this, and if I got in this, I can get out. That's number one. Number two is that then they say, well, my parents, I don't believe that I can tell them without them making me feel as though it's my fault. Because they're victim blaming. And we see that in society all the time. That's why we're trying to change the whole language, that we have to stop with the victim blaming. People always want to know, well, why they didn't tell. Victim blaming is why they don't tell. So when you're dealing with the victim, you have to deal with the victim in the most loving capacity. Even if they stay in the relationship, love them through it, because they will remember you when it's time to leave, that they can trust you, that they loved on me. You know what I'm saying? You always got to keep that door of communication open.
Let me pause you right there. Sherry, she's using a word, victim. Do you find that folks who are being abused respond favorably to that?
To victim?
That name, yes. Being called a victim.
I don't think anybody likes being called a victim.
Right.
So no, I don't.
And I'm not picking on. I just know that it is what it is.
Honest, but,
right.
And people are not going to respond very well to victim.
Sure.
They're not. But one thing that is good is that truth will bring you to light.
There
right?
you go.
And so what we have to remember that you can't go around sugarcoating things. And if you are a victim, you're a victim.
That's right.
Now, what are you going to do now? Right? So just because I was a victim doesn't mean that I'll remain a victim.
Right.
It doesn't mean that I'll stay in that mindset. So we have to just encourage people to know that, like she said, there's life after abuse.
Sure.
And when you were talking about how do you prepare your daughter to not go through things like this, like she was saying about the truth and the honesty, I think that is definitely key. You can't continue to raise children and think that children are not going to see through your BS.
Yes.
Right? And that as far as like even victim is concerned. If you're a victim, you're a victim. If mom went through it, I went through it. What am I going to do with it now? Right? Am I going to sit on it and I'm going to just woe is me? Or am I going to get my bootstraps together and I'm going to say, you know what? I'm not going to do this no more. I'm going to make sure that don't nobody else go through this. And let me tell you what happened. This is how it is, okay? I was swoozed. And first of all, I made the wrong decision and I moved him in my house 3 days after I knew him.
Come on,
I
tell
moved
it.
him in my house, didn't I? I moved him in there.
You guys don't know
Right?
what's going on
You
right
see
here.
what
I
I'm
told you
saying?
we had a guest in the show in the studio. She is looking directly at her daughter.
Yes.
So
and
when
is
I
speaking
talked to her,
directly
I was
her.
honest with them, and I let them know that, yeah, I slid back. As a matter of fact, a couple times when we moved, okay, because we had to move twice after he found out, right? And I said, don't tell him, right? I said, don't tell him. But guess what? Guess who always ended up telling him, right? And you know that. Right? You know that I always ended up being the one to tell them where I was because I needed the financial help, but I was honest with them. And I wasn't telling them in a way to say, oh my goodness, mommy just made a mistake. I shouldn't have done that. No, it was like, you know what? I don't know how the hell I'm going to get out of this, but one of these days, he's got to get out of my system.
Yes.
And I said that. Remember, I used to be like, God, he's got to get out of my system.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And I did. I had to go through that, but I had to be honest with her.
Sure.
And I wanted her to realize what a healthy relationship looked like. And I have to talk to my son, who's 20, and he has this little anger thing, right? That he gets really, really angry. And I tell him, how you treat your mother and your sister is how you're going to treat your mate. And if you pop off at the mouth with us, you'll pop off at the mouth with your mate. And then what's going to happen is I'm going to pop you, right? And then we go with that whole cycle, right? But you can't go treating people and talking to people like that. So sometimes when you talk to him, ask her. I have to say to him, okay, let's bring this down, okay? I'm going to need you, because he's standing here, I'm going to need you to bring this back down. Okay, I see you all angry and everything, but that's not how we communicate, right? So I have to bring him back down. Like, I remember, I know you remember, but then he was also that kid that there was a song that came out that said, I'm so proud of you. I'm so. Well, when that was ringtone, when they had ringtones, I had just left him, right? And they had ringtones on their phone. And one day I called his phone, and he just so happened to be there, and the phone rang, and it said, I'm so proud of you, and that was my ringtone. And it meant so much to me to hear. I was like, he is proud of me. Yeah. He is paying attention. Like, he's really paying attention. He's proud of me.
They are paying attention.
What I mean? So, yeah, you have to talk to them and just keep them. I tell her, listen, if little dude, what'd he say? He didn't. Oh, okay. You know what? I don't like that he did that. I don't like that he said that. And now she's on it. She's like, you know what, Mom? You know what? I'm not going to put up with it. I said, Brittany, you're so hard sometimes. Are you ever going to have a boyfriend? She's like, I'm not putting up with it, Mom. I'm just not doing it.
But that's good, because that's what the young ladies need. That's exactly what they need. And I just wanted to respond to when you said how they feel about victim. Like, it's level. I'm not gonna say levels, but it's phases to it. Like, you don't always have to be a victim. You can become a survivor, and then when you get to our level, you become an overcomer of this thing. So you don't ever have to stay a victim, but that's what you are. And like Sherry said, we have to be able to call things what they are, so people can know this is who you are, this is what's going on. But you don't have to stay here. You can come out of that.
That's right. You don't have to stay there. You can come out. Oh, you're gonna come out. Yeah, you're gonna come out. As long as you want this thing as bad as you can breathe, you'll come out.
And you have to do the work. A lot of people always say, how do you help people? I only help people who want to help themselves. Like, I feel for people. Like, people come to me all the time in certain situations, but if they are not ready to leave, it's not nothing I can do. I can't make anybody leave. I can talk to them blue in the face. They will always have an open door to me. They can call me personally or whatever, but I can't move until you move. And there's things that you have to do to protect me, because I always look at this is a very dangerous job to be in. That if they will kill you, what would they do for me? Because remember, I will take away their power and control. So I'm a threat. So I have to always make sure that I'm protecting myself. That if you're ready to move, then let's do what we got to do. I have to know who this is. The police have to know who it is. You have to get a protection order for us to be able to do what we need to do to help you.
And see, that's a whole nother conversation right there when you talk about the police and these protective orders. Because I hear too many times, though, that there was a protective order in place, but there was still something that
It's what Sherry said. It's a protection order in place, but if I'm still calling him and I'm still telling him where I'm at, and then when he come, let's say I got a protection order, and then now I'm like, oh no, I want him back. I don't want to stay here in the shelter. I want to go back to my $500,000 home. So I'm gonna call Boo and see if he okay now. So I call him, and he like, I'm so sorry. I'll never do it again. And Boo, come home. I'm like, I'm going home. So I go home, and then because the issue has not been resolved, then now that when I break a plate or didn't cook right, now it's been blown out again, and now I done lost my life in that moment.
It's worse.
Jesus.
And every time you go back, it gets just that much worse. Every time you leave and you go back, then it's something different. And you're like, dang, well, I thought the last time was bad. Now, like, what am I in?
It keeps escalating. Escalating.
It's crazy. And then the next thing you know, you feel like a fool. And you're like, well, I done put up with it all this time. You feeling like down on yourself because now he's beat you up so bad, verbally and emotionally, that you're like mentally, I don't even know who I am anymore. Can I even survive after this? Yeah, can I even, I ain't nobody. Yeah, who's going to listen to me? Nobody's going to believe me.
Then he didn't tell me for so long that nobody's never going to want me. Maybe I have 4 kids and no one else is going to want me. I'm fat and all these things.
And
so like, I may as well stay with him. Nobody else is going to want me.
There's so many areas to this that, even with the court system, I remember going in front of the judge the second time, and the judge told me, he said, why should I grant you the protection order? You're just going to go back.
Wow.
And I never have felt so embarrassed in all my life. I was in a courtroom full of other people. I had been called up to, sit behind this little mic and tell what happened. And then I had to tell what happened in front of all of these people. You know what I mean? And then for the judge to say, I don't know why I should give it to you. You're just going to go back. And I was like, wow. Okay, like what am I doing? I guess he's right. You know what I mean? And he's already told me it's just a piece of paper. I don't have to stay away. I used to be like, oh.
Right.
Okay, now mind you, like I said, I had never experienced anything like this. So this was my first go-around, my mama's first go-around, and my mama was a hellion, okay? Yeah. So my mama, even to this day, if she's watching this show right now, she's like probably sitting on there like, if I ever see his ass, I'm going to kill him. If I see him, I'm going to kill him. Yeah, because she could not stand him, to this day.
Oh, they know.
She used to leave the courthouse. I wish he would. I tell you, I'd be right. I used to be like, Mom, like, calm down. Like, yeah. So, it's just, so it's a whole lot to this, and we have to make sure that we make this topic known because there's so many ways we can go with this. We need to talk to our political arena leaders to let them know that we need something different. Like, I'm really standing behind the lady who's trying to get the database for the registries for abusers. I support that 100%. What was her name? Lynn Strange, I think. That's trying to get that. That's definitely something I think that we need, where repeat offenders would have to be in
registered like a sex registry.
Doesn't that make sense?
It does.
You know what I mean? If you're a repeat offender and you're in the court systems and your name is already in the system, right, that you had this, why wouldn't they keep a registry of these guys? Or abusers, I should say. They should keep so that people know, that who's in our community, who's in our, our families. We need to know. Sexual abuse, molestation, we need to know, so we can stop sugarcoating and being like, oh, he just got a little problem.
Yeah, Uncle
Billy, he touched all the little girls, but he all right. So abuse comes in many, many fashions, you know what I'm saying? And we need to stop sugarcoating things.
Yeah. Wow. This is I heard that passion. Yeah. A moment ago.
We're over it.
And that's what we strive for, especially here, because I'm looking for real people that's just going to just give it the low down and the dirty, and put it out there, because I believe it's folks that are potentially watching that can use it, can hear it in somebody else and know that, well, she's just a regular person. She lives in the county with me, and if she can do it, I can do it, and whatever. And I pray that that's what happens. So we've got about 10 minutes left, and I'd like to give you both an opportunity to expound on what you are actually doing in our communities. Give out. I know you have an event coming up. If you have any information on it, meaning the details, time, place, etc. Foundations that you oversee, that you're a part of, that you're linked up with, anything that you guys are doing in the community that maybe someone watching would want to take part in, be a part of, or whatever, please, this is an opportunity for you to, make that appeal. Even you all show, because you guys, I listen to your show, and it's a great show.
Thank you.
And maybe, once again, some of my viewers, some of the folks who are viewing now can tune in and get some additional information that we just don't capture in this hour.
Okay.
Well, I just want to say that if you are a victim and you are watching this broadcast, that there is help, that you are not alone, and that there are resources for you. There is a 1-800 domestic violence hotline. That number is 1-800-799-SAFE, 1-800-799-SAFE. You can call that number anywhere throughout the country, and they will put you in contact with resources in your area. And also, if you're in the Prince George's County area, you can definitely dial 211.
211.
211. Yes.
Never heard of that. I've heard, obviously, 411, 911, 311 is for like services.
Yes, and 211 is for domestic violence.
Never knew that. Awesome. Okay.
So you can dial that number. I do have a few things that I have going on this week. Thursday, I will be doing domestic violence. I will be moderating a domestic violence panel of survivors with the town of Bladensburg, and it's going to be at the town hall in Bladensburg. And I'm so sorry I don't have the address, but it's at the police. It's at the mayor's, with the mayor, the little headquarters. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say little. The headquarters.
You just called attention.
I know, right?
Is it the Bladensburg Community Center?
Is that it? Yes.
4557.
There you go.
What is that?
Go ahead, give them the address, Sherry.
It's Bladensburg Community Center at 4557th Avenue in Bladensburg, Maryland.
Yes, and also we are on the election campaign. We are hosting a rally of hope for Ben Zealous. He was actually, he was the former president of the NAACP. So he is running for governor of Maryland, and we are putting together a rally of hope for him. This Saturday, it will be at the Sylvan Church. What is it? Silver Vista.
Silver Vista.
May the 18th at 7 p.m.
They got so much going on. They need notes.
I know,
right?
I'm so sorry that I'm not prepared. I don't have those things in front of me.
This is laid back and casual.
I just have the DV benefits concert, but I'm
okay. And so I'm also excited about another organization that I will be a part of later this year. I'm going to be a part of a coalition of church and organizations where we're going to bridge the gap between community and church to be able to deal with these issues that affect our community. Of course, domestic violence, education, the food deserts and things like that.
Gosh.
So we will definitely be coming together and making a lot of noise, and to be able to hold our elected officials accountable.
That's right.
Wonderful.
For the things that's going on the local level.
So do me a favor real quick. You mentioned church a lot, and I heard it in your conversation. Shout out your church and your pastors.
Yes, I would love to. Definitely shout out Bishop Muse. He is also running for Prince George's County exec, the Ark of Safety. I love my family over there. Thank you guys so much.
Awesome.
Okay, so what am I wrapping up with me, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Talk about whatever you're doing in the community. If you have any events coming up, anything that you'd like to leave our viewers with.
Well, I don't have anything coming up except for the event that I'll be attending with Mick Yon on Thursday at the Bladensburg Community Center. That's at 4557th Avenue. Come on out. Bring your children. Bring your teens. Come on out. It's a community event. We're going to have some open dialogue, real talk. And, of course, like she mentioned, with the event with Ben Zealous is on Friday, May 18th, at 7 o'clock. I put 6:30. Maybe that's when I was supposed to be there. Yeah. So 7 o'clock. And I am working on a youth summit for later this summer, youth summit that we're going to showcase youth in the community, and we just got approved for a venue at the Prince George Community College, and we're going to have a youth summit. We're going to have youth come out and show us their talent. So if there are any youth out there that have talent, comedians, artists, rap, sing, of course, make sure that your songs are clean, and dance groups or dance schools and organizations, studios that want to get involved, they can reach out to us at Time for Change. That's time4changeradio@gmail.com. Again, that's time4changeradio@gmail.com. And it's just a youth summit. Like I said, we do anything positive to promote positive energy out in the community, and that's one of our passions, is dealing with the youth. So we want to highlight them in a positive way, and so we're leaning more towards later part of the summer. So we'll definitely have more information on that on our show.
Wonderful. And give out your show details once again.
Time for Change is every Monday from 6:30 to 8 p.m. And you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Time for Change Radio.
That's right. And Instagram, we just joined Instagram. Yay! So we need to get our followers up. Yes. So it's Time4Change Radio and that's on Instagram.
And also Baltimore, we're coming to you August the 25th. We will be doing a Healing Lives tour where we'll be talking about domestic violence, the co-parenting, mental recovery, and that whole financial thing. So you can definitely follow our pages. You can follow me at McYon, MIGNON, Brown Anderson, on Instagram and Facebook to get those details.
That's right. And wonderful. I'm on Facebook as Sherry Cook. That's it.
SHERRI.
That's right.
COOK. No E.
Wonderful.
No E.
Wow. As I said earlier, time flies, an hour goes by.
Yeah.
There's still so many questions that I have in my mind. I would be honored if you guys would come back at a later date, especially to give us an update on what you're doing, what's occurred since your visit tonight. But I want to again thank you both for being open, being willing to share with us, and just having a heart to want to help people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My lovely pastors at Spirit of Faith Christian Center. You didn't mention your church. Pastor, Apostle, Dr. Mike, and Dee Dee Freeman are actually in the process of working on Dee Dee's house, which is for domestic violence victims. So maybe some way down the line, when you guys get everything going, when everything put in place there could be a bringing together of what you guys are doing. But I applaud you both for being as strong as you are, having beautiful daughter, son.
Thank you.
And just being that example, being that you use, that vessel, that beacon of light for people, because I've never experienced it. I've seen, I didn't grow up with my dad. He was murdered when I was, very young. And I remember an occasion where my mom had a boyfriend. I don't even think my wife knows this. And we've been married 22 years. My mom was in a situation, and we left out of the house rather abruptly and went to Tab's house, Tab's grandmother's house, and a good friend of ours, her uncle ran outside with a rifle in the middle of the street because the guy who my mom was running from was apparently, I don't know if he had done something before. I had never seen any scars. I was young. I was really small. But that was the only thing. And then later on, I've run into some situations with some boyfriends of hers that, we take care of. But that was the only thing. But I applaud you guys I applaud you both for just being open and honest and having, being that example so that the cycle is broken.
Because that's our whole goal, guys, and I'm going to wrap it up right here. In the end, we want you all to win. That's the name of the show. We thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys heard something, caught something. Please support our friends, support what they have going on, who they're partnering with, teaming up with, and going out and sharing, how they're going out and sharing and all that good stuff. So we thank you guys. We will see you on next Monday night. Pray that you all once again got something. Thank you once again, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.